Internet trolls, what prank made you feel bad? In high school, I went on the computer in my science class, opened Word, typed the word poop, and printed 100 copies or so. The teacher told me I was very immature and I felt a little bad. Then for the next week, every handout we got in class had the word poop printed on the back, and I stopped feeling bad because that was hilarious. 4chan user here. We started a hashtag pray for Ellen hashtag. We made everything up. It was about her, Ellen DeGeneres, contracting AIDS. Tons of people believed it. She addressed it. It was crazy. When I was a teenager, I went into the bathroom and sprayed hairspray on the mirror. I wrote a whole bunch of profanities and it went away fairly quickly. My sister went to go take a shower and the steam built up in the bathroom. What I didn't know was that the steam would not stick to the mirror where I sprayed the hairspray. My sister is very superstitious and believes in ghosts and freaked out when she saw the writing on the mirror. I never admitted to it. If you slept with your friend's parents, what's the story? Was just getting on hookup websites and seeing the vast number of men out there who also like men. Ended up getting with my girlfriend's dad. Never told her. Years later, she's the type that'd find it hysterical. She was a lesbian, I was gay, both of us used each other as covers without realizing. Started going out with a best friend's mother when I was younger, and it turned into a 2-year relationship. My friend got used to it eventually, along with the rest of his family. My family hated it. My mom made me move out, etc. When I was 16, I had this girlfriend in high school. Her mom would always flirt with me. When that girl broke up with me, I was heartbroken and her mother called me to ask if I was okay and if I wanted to get some coffee. A few hangouts later, she used me like her boy toy for a few months and her husband never found out. Waiters, what's the saddest time you've seen a person waiting for someone? The place I used to work at had a man come in every night for a week, wait for a few hours, order food and drinks, then leave with no one showing up. Later I learned he was just trying to cope with his wife's death, believing that she'd arrived to greet him at the restaurant where they had their first date. I had a regular who would always come in with his wife. One day he sat in my section and I noticed his wife wasn't with him. I asked him, "Where's your wife today?" He replied, "She's in heaven waiting for me." Immediately I died inside. An 80-year-old man used to come in on his own every night, without fail. Always ordered the same thing, was genuinely lovely to the staff. It turned out his wife had died a few years previously, and coming to the restaurant and talking to waiters was the only social interaction he had all day. We ended up giving him free meals every day just so he could keep coming. Police officers, have you ever arrested someone you know? Yes, I arrested my sister for drunk driving. It makes the holidays more than a little uncomfortable. I'd do it again if given the exact same circumstances and knowing what I know now. Ex-cop in Australia. Arrested my cousin without realizing who he was. Chased him through a back alley in Sydney, tackled him, threw him in the car, and let him go soon after. He was very drunk and I saw him kick over a pot plant at the pub. My dad is a police officer and he once arrested my mom when she didn't stop at a red light. Had to go to the police station and file her crime. Needless to say that his colleagues, who also know her of course, laughed their asses off as my dad explained my mother's rights to her. I worked as a prison guard for a few years and I met someone I went to school with. He recognized me, but he seemed pretty happy about it, to be honest. People with street smarts, what is your best tip? If I'm in an unfamiliar city, I'll explore every neighborhood as long as there are women and kids around. Most moms don't hang outside with their kids if the area is unsafe. This worked very well for most throughout Latin America, Europe, and Asia. Walk confidently and with your head up. If you walk around like a victim, you will eventually become a victim. If you want to know if you can trust somebody you let in your home, leave money in a place that looks like it was forgotten about and that they would see it. If they steal that now, they'll steal much more from you later. The most dangerous time to drive is right when it starts raining, because any oil on the street has mixed with the water, making it slippery, but hasn't had enough time to wash away yet. Literal street smarts here. Teachers, what was the best smartass response from a student you've heard? I saw a rather sad one. In my chemistry class, one of my friends was going through some family issues, and his dad just left for a year or so. The kid was acting up in class, and the teacher said, "Do you want me to call your dad?" And he was like, "If he picks up, tell him to come home soon." This really shy kid that doesn't really speak much was getting picked on by this mean girl when the teacher tells her, "Be nice to him, he might be your boss someday." Without hesitating, he replies, "No thanks, I don't want to be a pimp when I grow up." A kid in my math class would sleep on his desk. One day the teacher called on him to answer a problem on the chalkboard. He woke up, solved the problem on the board with zero difficulty, and then just went back to sleep. The teacher repeated the same thing a few times with similar results, and then just let him sleep the rest of the year. What was that crazy school rumor that turned out to be true? Everyone was always talking about how the pre-calculus teacher and the algebra teacher were screwing around. They were both married, but students would see them smiling at each other, even kissing in the halls. Turns out they were married to each other. She just kept her maiden name. I didn't find out till a few years later when I saw him on Facebook. I'm pretty sure they knew about the rumors and specifically said nothing to dispel them for fun. The biology teacher hated the principal so much that he repeatedly set the class tarantula loose to sway her away from visiting his part of the school. That's kind of awesome. 18-year-old guy gets caught fingering a 14-year-old in the upstairs hallway. For a whole 2 months or so, no one was allowed upstairs during lunch. This happened last year, and this year all of the lockers and classes were moved downstairs. Must suck being homeschooled. Walmart workers, what's your weird people of Walmart story? The weirdest thing I saw was an obese lady on a scooter run over a fat child in the candy aisle and then threaten him because he almost tipped her. Security was called and she demanded to receive her items for free. Eventually we just let her take the stuff because it was only like $5 worth of Skittles. Saw an old man take a dump on the floor of the bread aisle once. It's amazing how many people bring their non-service animals into the store. I don't have a problem with dogs and such, but when I see the small dog you are carrying scratch and dander falls onto the vegetables you are looking over, we got a problem. The one that sticks out in my mind is this couple of really overweight folks. That in itself, not such an issue. But it's the smell I remember. It hit me before I saw them, the very distinct smell of festering, unwashed body, and naturally they came straight to me to ask me things. Marriage photographers, what are the signs a marriage will work out? To me, the biggest sign is the cake cutting. Some people like to smear the cake everywhere as a joke, some people don't. Usually the couple is in sync about this. They know what the other would like and they don't smush cake on the other's face if they wouldn't want that. Sometimes one of them will force cake all over the other's face and embarrass them. I've seen this happen a handful of times, and all of those relationships that I have kept up with have ended in a divorce. Nerves are normal, but when one of the pair start doubting whether they should go through with it way before the day, you know something isn't quite right. As a good sign, they make decisions together and have each other's backs, especially when family can be pressuring. You can tell somewhat based on how the couple treats each other on the wedding day. If they are respectful toward one another, and me, during a day full of stress, then I think that's a good indicator of being able to deal with other problems that may arise during a marriage. Nurses, what are the dirty secrets you'll never tell your patients? I have strep throat, but I'll get written up if I call in more than 3 days in a row. Sorry about your grandma and her weak immune system. Seriously, it seems like hospitals of all places would know the importance of keeping contagious people at home. Not really a dirty secret, but when you're naked in front of medical personnel, we don't care that you're naked. Literally for seconds after you're clothed, we've forgotten what you look like naked. You only remember what people look like naked because you've seen a small number of naked people. I was in the hospital for 3 days of rotating nurses, and all I can say is that you are at the mercy of that person. Everyone is very different in terms of attitude and service. It's like Russian roulette.